You sit in the quiet after a long conversation, and something feels hollow. Everyone else seems lighter somehow, laughing easily, moving through their days without the weight you carry. They speak about simple pleasures, a good meal, a sunny afternoon, a moment of rest, and you recognize these things intellectually, but they don't land the same way in you. I wonder why joy feels so complicated. Why contentment slips through your fingers like water, no matter how much you achieve or understand. There's a strange cruelty in it. The more clearly you see, the harder it becomes to simply be. The sharpness of your mind, the thing others admire, sometimes feels less like a gift and more like a lens that magnifies every flaw, every gap between what is and what could be. You notice things others miss, the tension beneath polite smiles, the logical gaps in casual arguments, the countless inefficiencies woven through daily life. This awareness was supposed to make life easier, wasn't it? Instead, it makes you tired. You've accomplished things. You've reached milestones. Yet the satisfaction never stays, evaporates within days, sometimes hours, leaving you empty and searching again. And you can't help but ask the question that haunts you in the stillness. If I'm so smart, why can't I figure out how to be happy? And here lies the paradox you can't escape. Intelligence doesn't promise happiness. In fact, sometimes it seems to work against it. The very thing that helps you solve problems creates new ones most people never even notice. Your story begins long before you understood what made you different. Perhaps you were the child who finished assignments first, then sat in silence watching the clock. The teacher praised you, but the praise felt distant, formulaic. You didn't want recognition. You wanted challenge, stimulation, someone to meet you at your level. But that rarely came. Instead, you learned to wait. You learned that your natural pace was too fast for the world around you. You learned early that your thoughts moved faster, reached further, saw patterns others missed. But this awareness brought a quiet isolation, a sense that the world operated at a different frequency than the one inside your head. At family gatherings, you bit your tongue when adults made logical errors. At friendships, you noticed inconsistencies in stories, contradictions in beliefs, gaps between what people said and what they did. You didn't point these things out to be difficult. You genuinely thought everyone noticed, but they didn't. And soon, you learned that noticing made you different, and different felt lonely. Childhood for the intellectually gifted can be a training ground in loneliness. You learned to translate your thoughts into simpler language so others could follow. You discovered that curiosity could make you seem strange, that asking too many questions earned strange looks rather than connection. You wanted to share your excitement about ideas, about possibilities, about the intricate beauty of how things worked. But often, you were met with blank stares or polite nods that told you, "You on your own with this?" Slowly, you adjusted. You dimmed your light, moderated your intensity, learned to wait for others to catch up. This conditioning settled deep, teaching you that your natural way of thinking was something to manage, not celebrate. You became skilled at code switching, at presenting a version of yourself that fit better, that didn't make others uncomfortable. But every translation took energy. Every simplification felt like a small betrayal of your authentic self. As you grow, two psychological forces shape your inner world. The first is what researchers call analysis paralysis, the relentless tendency to examine every angle, weigh every possibility, question every assumption. Your mind treats life like an endless equation, searching for optimal solutions where simple choices would suffice. Should you take this job or that one? Date this person or wait? Say yes to the invitation or protect your energy? Each decision branches into dozens of scenarios, each scenario demanding analysis. By the time you choose, you're exhausted, and the joy of choosing has evaporated into the mechanics of optimization. The second force is hedonic adaptation on overdrive, the rapid adjustment to positive experiences that leaves you perpetually reaching for the next achievement, the next insight, the next proof of your worth. Where others might savor success for weeks or months, your mind processes it, files it away, and immediately asks, "What's next?" This isn't ingratitude. It's the curse of a brain wired to solve, improve, advance. Contentment registers as stagnation.
Oh.
Peace feels like wasted potential. Picture a classroom where you solve a problem in seconds while others struggle. You feel the familiar mixed pride and alienation. You raise your hand less and less, not because you don't know, but because standing out has stopped feeling good. You learn that being right doesn't always win you friends. Sometimes it wins you distance. Recall a friendship where you hold back, editing your thoughts down to digestible pieces. You watch yourself perform normalcy, wondering if anyone would like the unfiltered version, the one who notices everything, questions everything, feels everything too much. You long for someone who can keep up, who welcomes your intensity instead of asking you to tone it down. But those people are rare, and finding them feels like searching for a frequency only you can hear. Imagine celebrations for accomplishments that briefly satisfy, then fade. Promotion, a milestone, a moment of recognition, gone within days, replaced by the familiar question, what next? What's missing? Why isn't this enough? You look around at others who seem genuinely fulfilled by achievements you've already surpassed, and you wonder what they know that you don't, or perhaps what they don't know that allows them peace. See yourself lying awake at night, replaying conversations, dissecting your choices, constructing elaborate what-if scenarios, but your mind won't rest. It circles endlessly, finding problems to solve even when none exist. You analyze your own happiness, wondering why you can't just feel it without questioning it, which of course makes it even more elusive. You're trapped in a feedback loop, thinking about why you're thinking too much. These patterns don't just visit occasionally, they become architecture. Your intelligence builds a beautiful, exhausting prison where every door opens to another question, another analysis, another reason why contentment remains just out of reach. You do this. You set goals so high that reaching them feels obligatory rather than triumphant. Success becomes an expectation you owe yourself, not a gift you celebrate. You cross finish lines without stopping to acknowledge them, already focused on the next race. You do this. You compare yourself not to who you were, but to who you imagine you should be by now. Smarter, wealthier, more accomplished, somehow more complete. The goalpost never stops moving. Every version of success you reach reveals another, shinier version just ahead, mocking your current position. You do this. In relationships, you analyze every word, every gesture, searching for hidden meanings. You want depth, but your need for understanding sometimes suffocates the simplicity that love requires. You dissect affection into components, what it means, where it's coming from, whether it's sustainable till the warmth of it disappears beneath the weight of your scrutiny. You do this, you fall in love with potential in partners, in projects, in yourself. But potential is infinite, and reality is limited, and the gap between the two becomes a source of perpetual disappointment. You see what could be so clearly that what is never quite measures up, and you do this. At work, you see inefficiencies everywhere. Your mind spots what could be improved, what's being overlooked, what others seem not to notice. This awareness breeds frustration. Why can't everyone see what you see? You offer solutions, but they're met with resistance or indifference. You realize that seeing problems others don't is isolating, not empowering. Intelligence without influence becomes its own trap. You do this. Your sense of self-worth rises and falls on intellectual performance. A mistake, a moment of confusion, a gap in your knowledge, these become evidence of failure rather than simple humanness. You hold yourself to standards you'd never impose on others, then wonder why you feel perpetually inadequate despite your achievements. You do this. In your inner dialogue, you rehearse conversations that haven't happened. Debate decisions already made, construct arguments with imaginary opponents. Your mind never stops working, even when you beg it to rest. Sleep becomes another battleground. Your thoughts refusing to quiet, replaying the day's mistakes. Planning tomorrow's strategies. Solving problems that don't need solving at 3 a.m. You do this. You seek happiness through understanding. It's believing that if you can just figure out the formula, the exact combination of habits and mindsets and circumstances, you'll finally feel whole. You read the books, listen to the podcasts, apply the frameworks, but happiness isn't a puzzle to solve, and treating it like one keeps it forever out of reach. You do this. You choose solitude not always because you want it, but because socializing feels like translation work, exhausting, imprecise, never quite authentic. You find yourself declining invitations not from arrogance but from fatigue, the effort to be understood, to dial yourself down. To navigate social dynamics that seem intuitive to others but require constant computation for you, it's simply too much. You do this. You experience joy in flashes, brief, intense, then gone. A beautiful idea, a moment of insight, a rare conversation that meets you at your depth. But these moments feel like exceptions, not the rule. The default state is analysis, vigilance, striving. Ease feels foreign, almost suspicious. Still, you wonder why happiness feels so elusive. You understand concepts like gratitude, mindfulness, acceptance. Intellectually, you know what to do, but knowing and feeling remain miles apart. You can explain happiness, define it, recognize its components, yet struggle to simply experience it without questioning whether you're doing it right. The irony cuts deep. You know too much about happiness to be happy easily. Your intelligence has given you maps to territories you can't seem to enter. Descriptions of experiences you observe but don't fully inhabit. Here, healing doesn't mean becoming less intelligent. It means learning to carry your mind without letting it carry you. It's the slow practice of recognizing that analysis has its place. But not everywhere, not always, not in every moment. That asks for simple presence. You don't need to dismantle your gift. You need to learn when to set it down. Reframe 1. What if your overthinking isn't a flaw but a compass pointing toward values you've forgotten? It's not anxiety, but caring deeply about getting it right. Your mind circles because it wants meaning, impact, connection. The problem isn't the wanting, it's the belief that more thinking will deliver it. Sometimes, the answer isn't in your head. It's in your body, your intuition, your willingness to act before you have all the answers. Reframe 2. Practice satisfaction before achievement. Before reaching for the next goal, pause. Let accomplishment register in your body, not just your mind. Happiness isn't waiting at the finish line. It lives in the moments you've been rushing past. Try this. When something good happens, stop. Place your hand on your chest. Say it out loud. This is good. This is enough. Let it be enough, just for a moment, before your mind starts listing what's next. Reframe 3. Seek people who don't need you to simplify. There are others who think in layers, who welcome your depth, who won't ask you to dim your light. Connection doesn't require translation when you find your people. They exist not in the places where everyone goes, but in the corners where curiosity gathers, where questions are celebrated, where intensity is currency, not burden. You've been looking for understanding in spaces that can't provide it? Look differently. Reframe 4. Give your mind permission to rest. Tell it clearly, you've worked enough for today. We're safe. We can just be. Intelligence without rest becomes exhaustion wearing a crown. Your mind is powerful, but it isn't meant to run continuously. Even the sharpest blade dulls without care. Rest isn't weakness. It's the condition that makes everything else sustainable. Reframe 5. Embrace good enough. Not every decision requires optimization. Not every choice needs to be perfect. Sometimes good enough is actually better, because it frees you to live instead of endlessly preparing to live. The coffee shop 2 blocks away might not be the absolute best in the city, but choosing it saves you an hour of research and gets you there. That hour matters more than the marginal difference in quality. Your life is happening now, not in the optimized future you're always planning for. Picture healing as a river learning to flow without fighting its own current. You were given a powerful mind not to solve everything, but to witness, create, connect, and sometimes simply to rest and wonder without demanding answers. Intelligence is your tool, not your identity. You are more than your thoughts, more than your achievements, more than your capacity to understand. You are also the silence between thoughts, the softness beneath the analysis, the part of you that knows without knowing how it knows. And so the truth emerges, steady and clear. Happiness isn't something you figure out through analysis or earn through achievement. It's something you allow a softening, a surrender, a choice to stop proving and start being. Your intelligence isn't the enemy of your happiness, but the way you've been taught to use it relentlessly, ruthlessly, without mercy for your own humanness, that might be. Let yourself be smart and simple, deep and light, knowing and wondering, not emptiness, but peace. Not perfection, but enough. You don't need to solve yourself. You were never broken. You were brilliant, sensitive, and human, trying to navigate a world that often rewards only one of those things. But here in this moment, you can choose all three. You can be exactly who you are netted, unoptimized, unfinished hand. Let that be enough.